There are few sounds in the Elder Scrolls Skyrim more chilling than the rasp of an ancient voice whispering in a forgotten tomb. The dry shuffle of bone and rotted leather as a coffin lid creaks open. You raise your weapon, the flicker of torchlight glinting off cold steel, and from the darkness comes the familiar hiss. The Draugr awaken. These undead guardians have become one of Skyrim's most iconic enemies, not just because of their eerie presence in almost every ancient ruin, but because they embody the very soul of the province. Its obsession with death, honour and memory. Yet behind their cracked armour and glowing eyes lies one of the strangest and most haunting mysteries in the game. Why they still live, why they still guard, and why they cannot rest. This is the curious case of the Draugr, the silent sentinels of Skyrim's forgotten past. Long before the Nords we know settled Skyrim, the land was ruled by the dragon cult, a theocratic empire that worshipped dragons as gods. The ancient Nords built massive temples in their honour, performed sacrifices and obeyed the words of their dragon overlords as divine law. But power demands tribute, and death was the highest form of worship. Those most devoted to the dragons, priests, warriors and nobles were promised eternity in their service. When they died, their bodies were preserved with ancient magic, their souls bound to their tombs. The result was the Draugr. These creatures are not mere zombies, they are the remnants of Skyrim's first civilization, cursed to guard the crypts of their dragon masters for eternity. Each one was once a person with faith, ambition and pride. But the centuries stripped them of identity, leaving only obedience and rage. When you fight a Draugr, you are not fighting a mindless corpse, you are fighting a memory, one that refuses to die. The horror of the Draugr lies not only in their appearance, but in what they represent. Immortality in Skyrim is rarely a blessing. The Draugr were promised eternal life as servants of the dragons, a reward for devotion. But eternity without purpose becomes torment. When the dragon cult fell and the dragons were banished, their servants were left behind, trapped in darkness, guarding treasures no one would ever claim. Centuries turned into millennia, dust gathered on the tomb walls, empires rose and fell, yet still they stood watch. Their immortality became a prison, their loyalty a punishment. The power that preserved them became the very thing that erased their humanity. It is easy to forget this tragedy as you cut through tomb after tomb, but if you stop and look, the story is always there, carved into the walls, the fall of the dragon priests, the betrayal of their followers, the endless cycle of devotion and decay. Every Nordic ruin in Skyrim feels alive, not because of life, but because of the Draugr that inhabit them. The air in these places is heavy with history. You can hear the faint whisper of chanting, the echo of a 1,000-year-old ceremony long ended. From Bleak Falls Barrow, the Draugr stand at the heart of Skyrim's landscape. They're everywhere. Their tombs are not just dungeons, they are museums, catacombs, temples, and prisons, all at once. And what's most curious is how consistent they are. Each tomb has the same architectural design. Narrow corridors, pressure plates, puzzles involving animal carvings, and a final chamber guarded by a Draugr Death Lord. This repetition has often been criticised as formulaic, but lore-wise it tells a powerful story. It means the Nords built with purpose. It means they standardised their religion, their rituals, and their death. Each barrow is a monument not just to a person, but to an entire culture's fear of being forgotten. The Draugr, then, are the echoes of a civilization that refused to let go, even in death. One of the most fascinating details about the Draugr is that they speak. When they shout the ancient words of power, they are not merely mimicking dragons, they are speaking the true tongue of the gods. In these moments, Skyrim's world building shines. The fact that the Draugr can still use the Thu'um means that even in their decayed state, they remember the language of creation itself. It is both terrifying and awe-inspiring. When a Draugr Death Lord mutters under its breath Rodar, It's not an imitation of the Dragonborn, it's the other way around. The player's powers are rediscoveries of what the Draugr have preserved for thousands of years. They are not obsolete relics, they are keepers of knowledge, cursed guardians who still remember what the world was like before it forgot them. If we view the Draugr not just as enemies, but as remnants of human consciousness, their existence becomes even more disturbing. Imagine waking up each day in darkness. You don't remember your name, you don't know how long you've been there, you don't feel hunger or pain, only the echo of duty. You stand guard because something deep inside tells you to. This is the life, or unlife, of a Draugr. Some appear to sleep eternally, preserved in death. Others wander restlessly, as though searching for meaning. The stronger ones, such as the Death Lords, seem almost aware, their shouts targeted, their defences deliberate. In this way, the Draugr serve as a mirror to the player. The Dragonborn, too, is bound by destiny, resurrected by divine power, and driven to fulfill a purpose beyond understanding. The Draugr are what happens when destiny never ends, when purpose becomes a prison. From a design perspective, the Draugr are masterpieces of subtle horror. They are not grotesque in the way traditional undead often are. Their faces are leathery and shrunken, their armour rusted but ornate, their movements deliberate and hauntingly human. Their eyes glow faintly blue, not bright, not blazing, but like dying embers that refuse to go out. When they stir in their tombs, the sound is dry and ancient, like stone cracking under pressure. Every detail reinforces the idea that these creatures are not simply dead, they are enduring. They are holding on to the last fragments of a world that should have faded long ago. And that's what makes them frightening, not because they are monsters, but because they remind us that some things die slowly and refuse to be forgotten. Despite their decay, the Draugr remain dangerous because they guard some of Skyrim's greatest treasures: shouts, dragon claws, artifacts, and ancient knowledge. In a sense, they are keepers of history. The Dragonborn's journey to reclaim the Thu'um from their tombs is symbolic, the living reclaiming power from the dead, the new world inheriting the legacy of the old. And yet, every time you take from them, every time you plunder a barrow or absorb a word wall, there's an unspoken question. Are you any different from the dragons they once served? You too are a creature of divine power. You too command the voice that bends the world, and you as well will be remembered or forgotten depending on the songs others sing after you're gone. The Draugur's loyalty, their endless waiting, is a warning that power and faith without purpose always end in ruin. The Draugr are not just enemies, they are symbols of everything Skyrim represents. Skyrim is a land obsessed with history, tradition, and death. Its people worship ancestors. Its architecture is carved into mountains and stone. Its very culture is built on the idea that the past defines the present. The Draugr are that idea made flesh. They are the embodiment of a society that cannot let go of its ancestors, that clings so tightly to the past it becomes imprisoned by it. Even the Nords of the Fourth Era still honour the Barrows, even as they fear them. They speak of the Draugr in hushed tones, not as abominations, but as warnings of what happens when faith becomes fossilised. Skyrim's people live in the shadow of their dead, and nowhere is that more literal than in tombs, where the Draugr still breathe dust and memory. The tragedy of the Draugr is that they succeeded. They achieved what every mortal fears: to live forever. But in doing so, they lost everything that makes life worth living. Their temples still stand, their weapons still gleam faintly with enchantment. Their chants still echo through empty halls. But their gods are gone, their names are forgotten, their faith means nothing. In that sense, the Draugr are not just undead, they are monuments to the futility of immortality. They show that eternity without purpose is not a gift, but a curse. Every time one rises from its coffin, it's a reminder that the past never truly dies. It lingers, demanding recognition from a world that has moved on.